Hey guys, David here, and welcome to Digital Outlook. Guys, what an amazing start to the week we have seen for XRP. I'll tell you what, one of the biggest starts I think that we have seen for XRP in a long time. Of course, we came out of the weekend where XRP was showing some tremendous strength, and it has continued to show that strength. And even today, back 290 some, stuff like that, marching back towards that $3 range. And even if we did see some volatility, guys, the news that we're getting in this ecosystem right now for XRP is truly wild. The SEC just came out recently and said, hey, listen, we have changed the regime of how we're going to approve all these XRP, or not just XRP, but, these crypto exchange traded funds. And today, they actually came down and said, hey, listen, for all you folks that actually have submitted an application, we're just requesting you withdraw that and resubmit under this new regime. And why? Well, guys, because under the old system, they had to look at each and every one of them individually, case by case, on and on and on. And of course, they would actually be pushed into a position where they would not be able to approve some. Well, this situation, the way it is now, look, if your asset has been out there and it's been trading on the open market for something like 6 months, well, then you can apply to have, this ETF. And there's a few other conditions there. But of course, XRP meets each and every one of the conditions in this new regimen. And guys, I'm thinking we're going to watch these things just fire out the door, bang, bang, bang. And it is going to make a big difference. And it's streamlining the process. Now, the SEC and the CFTC, not too long ago, they actually came out and they were saying this, all this strategic framework that they were going to use and work together and stuff like that, and who's going to have jurisdiction over what and why and on and on. And we're literally, this is a part of that. We're seeing it happen. Doesn't that tell you that we're watching the whole system change? It wasn't like 1-2 years ago under the Gensler SEC. Do you think we'd ever be at a situation now where you would see the streamlining of these spot ETFs being approved? Not in your life. I mean, they were dragging their heels as deeply and as hardly as they could all the way through. This, guys, is like literally putting a slip and slide on the ground, and whoo, these guys are going to be able to get these through the gate. And of course, that shows us that the whole system is changing, and it's going to happen way faster than what a lot of people think. And the institutions that are biting at the bit to invest in this space is truly wild. Do you realize right now we're watching whale activity gobble up XRP more aggressively and ferociously than they have ever done it? I mean, some of the biggest accumulations that we're seeing are happening right now that have never happened before. Now, this is a major deal, and you can't discount it because, look, if these whales were terrified that the whole thing is going to fall off the cliff and they're literally going to be, out on their ear and lose tens of millions of dollars, no, they're not afraid of that. And the reason they're not afraid of that, guys, is because they can see. Do you not think those reverberations that were coming through the SEC and all the changes that were coming, that some of these folks probably heard wind of that and all that? That's why, I mean, you can't make this up. The amount of accumulation is literally off the scale right now. And that tells me, look, I'm stacking my pennies next to their dollars, because when this thing moves, I think it's going to move so aggressively and ferociously. Most people are going to be blindsided by it. And there's a lot of TA guys that are saying the same thing. Now, of course, any bit of news that comes out, of course, the first thing you hear is all the negative spin on it. And I saw all kinds of articles throwing this negative spin. Oh my goodness, they asked them to withdraw their application. Well, guys, they asked them to withdraw the applications with the motivation of getting them to be able to put it in and not be facing the same measure or level of hurdles, so that most of them are going to get approved and through the gate. Come on. And that's a negative thing? Jeepers creepers. Look, guys, as far as I'm concerned, most of the pundits in this space that are trying to spook you and I out of our small positions and all that, you can't say that, look, these whales that are literally putting tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in are that, absolutely terrified, which is what they're trying to get us to do. And so knowing the psychology of the market and how it works has made a tremendous difference for us. And we get to witness it right here in real time. Do you realize we are watching history being made right now? These changes are not just okay happenstance because these rules are going to carry on into the future. Do you think we're going to see more and more different, these kind of like exchange traded products, which of course an ETF is, and how you're going to watch institutional adoption, pension plans, hedge funds, and all that money coming in when they start tokenizing everything, the real world asset tokenization of everything, tokenization of securities, tokenization of debt, tokenization of real estate, all these financial products, all tokenized, on and on and on. This is just the tip of the very iceberg. I'm going to tell you what, because I think it's going to literally blow the doors off of anything that any of these markets have ever seen ever before. I oftentimes love thinking about how back in the 1970s, you would have never imagined that there would ever be one company alone that would have been worth the entirety of the New York Stock Exchange at the time. Well, it happened, guys. It was Apple. And, Apple comes out and was at that time, it got to a place where it was worth more than the entirety of the New York Stock Exchange, if you can imagine. And, so a lot of folks now, I know it's hard to imagine seeing XRP up at some big time numbers, which would cause the market capitalization to just be into the trillions upon trillions. And they're thinking, well, how could that happen? Because if that happened, it would have a greater value than all this combined. Well, guys, that has already happened in history. I think it's going to happen again. I think that XRP is absolutely going to be able to prove the world in that way that it is going to be worth literally trillions upon trillions of dollars. Now, market cap, my personal estimation, I know that's a metric that we all like to use at time to time to kind of make comparisons in this space. But in my honest opinion, market cap isn't going to make a difference. It is not going to be matter. What's going to really matter and what's going to drive the price of XRP, of course, is its utility. It is its utility in solving global problems, big time global problems. Now, one of the things that did come out today, of course, is this whole news. Well, Swift is going to use consensus to help them to build out their blockchain network. And all these fuzzers coming out saying, see, it's not XRP. And that means XRP isn't even going to be used. That is absolute hogwash. In fact, we were watching their Versan Algera when we were doing our podcast today at lunch, because Black Swan Capitalist and Digital Outlook, we get together once a week and we have this kind of discussion. Well, needless to say, he posted this video in there where this representative from Swift had actually had years and years and years of experience with Swift and all that kind of stuff, said, listen, it's not going to be a replacement. It's going to be a collaboration. You're going to literally watch XRP and these different assets and stuff like that moving on the rails, moving value through Swift. It is the evolution of everything. Now, whether they use consensus or they use this or they use that does not mean that you are not going to see a competitive market out there and competition. Is that something to fear? Come on, guys, not in your life. It's the cure for complacency, isn't it? Do you think XRP is not going to be able to hold its own in a market and an infrastructure like that? Oh, you had better believe it. Why? Because XRP is a bridge asset. It is a bridge asset that you could literally tokenize anything of value into anything else and move it, guys. You can move that value, and that's where it's at. Solving the nostro vostro, absolutely for sure. Tokenizing real world assets, absolutely for sure. Digital identities and all of that represents, absolutely for sure. We are watching it happen. And so when you hear about news like this, do you think it's in a vacuum that the SEC has decided to streamline the process for the approval of these ETFs? Not in your life, guys. They know darn well that the market is out there literally hungering and thirsting for these products, and they want to make them available. If anything, this creates a more level playing field right there in order for us to see tremendous value. And think about it, you and I, we are so early for all the innovation and invention that's coming to this wide world through this space. It's going to be mesmerizing, guys. I really believe it. Right now, you and I, we're actually doing something that at one point when I was a kid, this was science fiction, wasn't it? Being able to get out here, and I'm recording in 4K on a device that I can hold in my hands, upload it, and you get to watch it around the wide world and interact with that. Well, you know what? That was just a fantasy. Literally a fantasy at one point. And of course, it was the innovation and the invention and the building upon the protocols of the internet that made it possible. Well, do you not think that the innovation, invention, and building on these distributed ledger technology protocols aren't going to change the world in ways we can't yet even imagine? Guys, I believe it is. I think it's going to swallow this internet system whole. And that's where we see the value. See, the value is in the protocol. It's in the protocol and the utilization. And that's why I believe market capitalization isn't going to really make it. There'll be a new metric. We use it now because it's kind of like the only measurement tool that we have to compare to traditional markets. But guys, it's going to blow the doors off the traditional markets. And we know that it's going to swallow those markets. Because when the traditional markets all get tokenized and they start trading 365, 24/7, you watch and see what a world it is going to be then. I'm telling you, major, major, major deals. That is for sure. And guys, it's anything but boring. But I'll tell you, do I ever believe we are going to see something massive happen within this next quarter and into the early part of 2026 for this space? Numbers that I think are going to blow people's minds for the valuation of these assets, and XRP right there at the king of the hill. Absolutely believe it. And guys, how I cannot wait for you to be there, right, guys? I love to say, standing in that winner's circle right beside me as we cross that finish line. And that is my 100% biased opinion. But guys, I cannot wait. I can't wait for you to experience what a genuine bull run is. If you think we've seen appreciation now, just wait. We get a genuine one of these massive bull run moves like what Judy and I saw, it's going to blow your ever loving mind. I'll tell you that right there. And so guys, until later on, or actually until tomorrow, we have another fantastic coffee chat. Guys, I sure hope you have an amazing one and take care.